A little while ago, while I was watching a marathon of Everybody Hates Chris, I began to think about Rugrats, as one who was watching an Everybody Hates Chris marathon does. Rugrats is a show I think about often, which makes sense because if you didn't know, Rugrats is one of my favorite cartoons of all time. Besides SpongeBob, it's the first Nicktoon that I really came to love, and I apologize to all of my friends and family who had to endure my constant talk about the show around the time I first discovered it. Seriously, I had a problem. Anyway, the show is iconic, and we all know it's one of Nickelodeon's most successful shows. And besides this Rugrats movie poster that I've had on my wall since the beginning of my YouTube channel, I haven't really touched on the franchise a lot, despite it being one of my absolute favorites. There was no way I was going to review the entire series in one video, since time nowadays won't allow me to, so I thought I'd review an episode. Originally, I was going to review Meet the Carmichaels, the episode that introduced Susie, and it's also just one of my favorite episodes of the series. But remember earlier when I said I was thinking about Rugrats while watching Everybody Hates Chris? Well, both shows are on Hulu, so I decided to pause the episode I was watching and head on over to watch a few episodes of Rugrats instead. The first episode I watched to begin my mini binge was the second episode of the series, called Barbecue Story. It's a classic episode with a simple plot, but as I was watching it, it occurred to me that this episode might just be the most important episode of the series. So I decided that that episode would be the episode I review and share why I believe that this episode of Rugrats is the most important episode of the series. So sit back, relax, and hold on to your diapers because I'm about to review an all-time great episode of an all-time great series, Rugrats.
We don't know why they call this show Rugrats. We keep looking for carpet and furry rodents with long tails, but all they keep giving us is crazy little kids. Weird. Rugrats is next on Nicktoons Network.
Lately, I've been receiving a lot of spam calls and texts, and it's been really annoying. Like, no, I'm not interested in your remote job positions. I'm a YouTuber. I know one of the reasons I get so many spam texts and calls is because big companies can't keep our data safe. Recently, Ticketmaster was hacked, and the data of 560 million users were put up for sale on the dark web. And something similar just happened over at AT&T. The data stolen includes full names, addresses, email addresses, phone numbers, and credit card data. At best, this is going to lead to so much more spam, and at worst, it can lead to fraud. So what is Ticketmaster doing about it? Nothing. They said they didn't think the hack would have a material impact on our business. All these businesses happily collect our data, but do nothing about it. That's why I use Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura alerts me when my data has been part of a data breach or leaked on the dark web. It gives me fast fraud alerts if anyone tries to use that data to access my credit or bank accounts. And it removes my information from data broker websites so I get less spam. I also get things like transaction monitoring, a VPN, antivirus, a password manager, parental controls, and identity theft insurance. I get this all in one app at one affordable price. If my info was compromised in the Ticketmaster data breach, I wouldn't worry because Aura is always on, always doing the hard work of keeping me safe. I'm not leaving myself and my family vulnerable to data breaches, and if you don't want to either, you can go to aura.com/Mr. Nostalgia and try your first 2 weeks for free, also linked in the description. This episode of Rugrats premiered on August 18th, 1991. Wow, I think this is the oldest thing I've ever reviewed so far. It begins with Tommy about to eat a bug. Why? Well, because he's a baby. Right off the bat, something I never understood about Rugrats is how often the characters eat bugs. They make it seem like it's a common thing for babies to consume insects. As a kid, I never ate insects. That never once crossed my mind. Did any of you guys eat bugs as a baby? Let me know in the comments below because I have to be missing something. Anyway, Dee Dee stops it from eating the bug and proceeds to chuck my guy without any regard for insect life. Fortunately, he's okay though. He just landed on Grandpa Lou's nose. From there, he ends up on Drew before ending up on Spike. I guess Spike really doesn't care that there's a bug on him because as you can see, the only thing worth his time at the moment is getting a burger from off the grill. Speaking of the grill, Stu is seen behind it recording his friends and family at the barbecue. We then see Tommy, Phil, Lil, and Chucky chilling in their playpen. Lil mentions that she hates barbecues because there's nothing to do. That's what Tommy suggests. They play with his brand new ball, one that his grandpa gave to him. Tommy throws it to Chucky so he can catch it, which even if it wasn't rudely intercepted by Angelica, was going to turn out well anyway. Pretty sure Chucky doesn't have the best athletic skills. Angelica takes the ball and Tommy wants it back and demands Angelica gives it to him. Angelica, because she's Angelica, doesn't give it back to him and instead chucks it over the fence.
Don't worry, Tommy. It's just a dumb ball anyway.
Dee Dee comes over to check on Tommy, and as she's picking him up and down, Tommy notices his ball, which is right smack in the middle of the neighbor's backyard. That immediately makes him stop crying, and Dee Dee puts him down. Phil asks why he stopped crying, and that's when he tells everyone that his ball is right over the fence. See, let me tell you something. This scene right here is what makes this episode so important to the Rugrats franchise. It's the first episode where we really see how brave Tommy is. The first episode of the series was mainly about Tommy wanting to eat dog food. There's no real adventure there. This episode, however, is the first real classic Rugrats adventure we see them go on. Even if it's as simple as retrieving a ball from the neighbor's yard, it's still a prime example of a Rugrats adventure. And that's why I like this episode so much. Chucky tells Tommy that it's the next yard. There's no way he can actually go to the next yard because he's only a baby. Then, Tommy's basically like, boy, if you don't get... Nah, but jokes aside, what he actually says is super iconic because not only is it Tommy's most famous quote, but it's arguably one of the most iconic quotes in cartoon history.
A baby's gotta do what a baby's gotta do.
This quote is another reason why this episode is important. Like I said, it's huge in the Rugrats history, and it's really the first quote that people think of when they hear the name Rugrats. People can literally identify what show you're talking about just by saying this quote. The point is, the quote is iconic, and we wouldn't have gotten the quote if this episode didn't exist. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, and his diaper comes down too.
The Rugrats will be back faster than you can say Rugrats 5,000 times. Hey, you want to know what your TV set looks like covered in Rugrats? Check this out.
Anyway, Tommy breaks out of his little baby jail and Phil and Lil join him without a second thought. Chucky, on the other hand, has to think about it for a second, and of course, because he's Tommy's best friend, he comes with him. The gang makes it to the fence and begins to crawl to the other side. To cover more ground, Tommy tells his friends to split up. Chucky checks in a log for the ball and gets his head stuck, which results in Tommy and Phil pulling and tugging on Chucky to help him get out of the log, which ends up being successful. Chucky starts complaining to Tommy about how he led him here to this weird place that scares him, all for the ball to not be there. He even doubts that Tommy saw the ball in the first place. Right after Chucky gets his last words out, Tommy points toward the next yard over, where his ball actually is. Phil and Lil launch him over the fence, then launch Chucky over the fence, then fight over which one of them should go next. That leads to Tommy telling them to just stay where they are so he and Chucky can grab the ball. They spot it, but a problem emerges. The neighbor's dog is outside and begins to make his way over to Chucky and Tommy. Chucky tells Tommy that they should just leave, but Tommy is hell-bent on getting his ball. Fortunately, the dog is chained up and the chain is attached to his dog house. Unfortunately, the house is about to break. Tommy grabs his ball, Chucky dips, and right when Tommy is about to make it over the fence, the dog starts to charge at him. Fortunately for Tommy, he has the best pet in Nicktoon history on his side at all times. Spike hears Tommy scream, scares away the dog that was literally seconds away from eating Tommy like candy, and Tommy thanks him. We then see this epic shot of Tommy and Chucky riding on Spike's back as he takes them back to their yard. You see, people, this is what Rugrats is about. This is a prime example of a very good yet simple Rugrats adventure. Obviously, this one had to be simple because it was their first real outdoor adventure, but still. This shot of Tommy, Chucky, and Spike is really one of my favorite scenes throughout the entire show. What makes it even better is that this scene mainly focuses on Tommy and Chucky. Phil, Lil, and Angelica are nowhere to be found during this part of the episode. And look, don't get me wrong, I like all three of those characters, I really do. But one of the highlights of the Rugrats series for me was the friendship between Tommy and Chucky. And I believe that their friendship is what makes Rugrats such a good show. They have a very unique friendship. Despite Chucky being a year older than Tommy, he often looks at Tommy for help when he's in trouble, and not vice versa. He looks up to him, and Tommy is always there for him. Why? Because that's his dog. Well, no, I mean, I guess Spike is his dog, but Chucky's like You know what I'm trying to say. Back to the episode, this idiot Stu looks in the garbage can for his baby when Dee Dee points out that Spike rescued Tommy and Chucky as well. Dee Dee picks up and holds Tommy, Stu praises Spike, burning his burgers in the process, and they all live happily ever after. Except for Dee Dee's parents. They gotta be dead by now, right? They should have been dead by the time All Grown Up came around, but you know what it is, so I won't fuss over it. The episode ends with Tommy, Chucky, Phil, Lil, and Spike sitting on a hill watching fireworks. Tommy even grows a little bit character-wise. That same bug he was going to eat when the episode first started, well, he decided to take it off Spike and put it back on the ground, where he can vibe and hang out for a bit. Before probably getting stepped on 5 seconds later. Spike even gets what he wanted the entire episode, burgers. Tommy hugs Spike, and we see the main characters of the episode watching fireworks, chilling, and enjoying each other's company. And that, my friends, wraps up the most important Rugrats episode of all time, Barbecue Story. It was truly the perfect Rugrats episode. There may be better episodes, but this one right here nails the average Rugrats episode structure to a T, perfecting a plot that would be used time and time again. And it truly never gets old. To wrap this video up, let me start off by saying that yes, it is possible that I could be thinking way too hard about this. But hey man, I really like this episode, and I think it's an episode I show to anyone that wants to start watching this great show. Barbecue Story gets a 10 out of 10 for me, making it one of my favorite Rugrats episodes of all time. But enough about what I have to say about it, it's time to get your guys' opinion. What do you think is the best or most important episode of Rugrats? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I'm Mr. Nostalgia, and I'm out for now. Peace.